Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning. If you can, please show your camera. Good morning, everybody. Wow, that's a lot of people here. I see almost like 137 and still climbing. Oh my goodness. Okay, everybody, please show your camera. My name is Michael. I'm one of the founders at AI Camp.
Mommy, I don't have sound.
I don't know what that means, but please, if you can, mute yourself because we have actually, oh my gosh, we have 140 something people now.
I don't have sound.
Hold on. So,
What's going on?
all right, I'm gonna mute Cindy. Okay, so everybody, please just show your camera. Okay. Today is our info session for the 2021 summer camp, summer AI camp. Now, one of the things here is that this is an info session as well as a celebration for AI camp. And for also you guys are coming here to learn AI. With us. Actually, I see quite a few familiar faces. Zachary, how you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you again. Good to see you again. Yeah. Okay, I see Offer here. Offer, thank you for your time. I see Sam. Where is Sam? I see Sam. Yes, thank you so much for coming. Okay, so I don't have, for example, the screen space to fit everyone. Okay, and when we have like hundreds of people, it might be difficult, right, to have a cohesive conversation. So I ask you, if you have a question, please raise your hand, right? And then mute yourself because we have hundreds of people. If, for example, like everybody speak, we won't be able to have a great conversation. Wow, there are more people joining. Can you believe it? Okay, before we start, let me ask you guys a question, okay? So I see a lot of faces here who are students and also parents. Oh, Alex, you are one of our instructors as well. Thank you for joining, man. Okay, so guys, I want to ask you guys a question, okay, especially for students. Okay, raise your hand if you know anything about programming. Raise your hand. Okay, we have a lot of people. Okay, raise your hand if you really want to learn about AI. Oh, wow, that's almost universally. Raise your hand if you think, for example, I don't know, maybe you're going to see self-driving cars in your lifetime. Okay, that's almost everybody. Okay, all right, then we're going to do a little bit more fun things. Raise your hand if you're on the West Coast. Okay, almost half. Okay. And then again, raise your hand if you're on the East Coast. Okay, we got quite a few as well. Okay, a final question. Okay, raise your hand if you had a great morning so far. I had a great morning so far. Okay, awesome. Oh, Jimmy, welcome, man. Good to see you. Okay, we have more people joining. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what I'll do, okay, I'm gonna give you a general structure. So basically this info session, okay, what we're gonna do is essentially we will give you an overview what an AI camp is. And we have many, folks here who are our previous, students, our mentors, our advisors, right? Parents. So what we're gonna do is basically for them to tell you a story about an AI camp, okay? And then right after that, we're basically gonna go through essentially what a camp, actually what we do, why this is gonna be a really cool experience for you, okay? And then finally, we're gonna tell you a little bit about logistics of AI camp for you to join. And the final thing is just basically, a couple reminders and Q&As, okay? If you have any question, I think you can, for example, put your question in the chat, okay? Or the best thing is actually email us, okay? So what I'm gonna do, we have 184 people right now. I think it's still climbing. I'm just gonna start this conversation. Okay. All right, give me 1 second. Jackson, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good to see you, good to see you. Thanks for supporting. Okay, we have even more people joining. Oh my gosh, okay. It might be a good idea if we have someone else to manage this meeting. Okay, anyway, so as I said, this is 2021 AI Camp info session, okay? And today, when I see this many faces, I can't help but think about, the first time, we had this info session. The first time we had this info session is in 2019. I think I rented the space at Stanford for about like 200 people, 200 people. And then there's like only 5 people showed up. And we had a stage where it's like elevated, like we were like supposed to sit on top of the stage and talk to our students down below. And then we felt like, wait a minute, there's only 5 of them anyway, so let's just form a circle. So we formed a circle and chatted through, and then we had a great conversation, and that was in 2019. Yeah. Back then we don't even know if it's possible to teach like teenagers about AI. But you know what, like fast forward today, having taught thousands of students, we really think this is something you guys can learn. Okay. And you can see here AI Camp, this is this map here. Okay. So again, this is something where we want it to be data driven. Be data driven is actually very helpful, right, in making decisions. And when you look at, for example, this map here, this represents, okay, which county people are actually visiting to AI Camp's websites. Okay, and you can see there's certain regions that are darker, right? And you probably can, identify yourself as, oh yeah, I'm from maybe San Francisco, I'm from the northwest, northeastern region of the United States, I'm from Illinois, I'm from Chicago, right? So yeah. So the other thing here, I guess, we are yeah. So this is a brief, like basically give you a brief history of AI Camp from last year, from 2019 to last year to this year. Yeah. Okay. So we are founded by Stanford PhDs, entrepreneurs, and mentors. So our founders here are including, for example, Ying. Ying's actually teaching a class right now, so that's why she couldn't be here. Richard, I think Richard's here. Richard, can you? Yeah, Richard's right there. Yeah, Richard's raising hand. Waving hand for you. We have Anna. Anna, are you here? Yeah,
I'm
Anna's
here.
Yeah. So seriously, like this whole thing, like I started this, but I think the road in front of us is way more than the road that behind us. And I really appreciate Ying, Richard, and Anna for their support. And like the thing about AI Camp, we found this thing because we felt like when we were like teenagers, we need something like this, and we never had anything like this, right? And this is realization, upon, for example, going through the best education in the world, whether it's like, we graduate from Stanford, Caltech, Cornell, Carnegie Mellon, UT Austin, right? Great universities. And then we went through so many different roles, like we founded companies, like we manage like data teams, like IT teams. I was a product manager, data scientist. Even after all these, different, jobs and careers and etc., we felt like this is something, our kids desperately need, which is why we're spending our time, dedicating our time, doing this. Yeah. We're so fortunate to be, supported by, great mentors, like Offer, who's actually here to, like speak for us. Taki, he probably going to be here a little bit later. Taki is a professor at Stanford. We have Eugene, who's actually my former boss at Blend Labs. So he has been always, supporting. We have Ya, who's a VP of data science at LinkedIn. And she has been tremendous in terms of like, giving us support, giving us guidance, for our students. Yeah. So we're fortunate, to have them. I really should update this photo. And by the way, this is definitely not like during the pandemic. This is, AI Camp, thank you, barbecue, in 2019, right? 2019. And this is, right before, this is actually at my home. And we had our first camp. I invited everyone to come. I seriously don't know how we're going to have another AI Camp thank you barbecue with this many of you. I think we're gonna go bankrupt if we're gonna invite everyone like an AI Camp thank you barbecue. But I think we should do something similar. Yeah. So definitely after the whole pandemic is over, hopefully this summer, right? Because we're gonna go through this whole thing, and maybe it's like during the summer and all that. This whole thing will be over, and we can get together, and that'll be such a fun time. Yeah. All right. So as I said, this whole conversation here, I want to turn this into basically a chat, a conversation, a story, a celebration of AI Camp. I wanted to really introduce you guys Offer. So Offer is an advisor for AI Camp. Offer has been tremendous in terms of guiding us. So I have, his sort of like a resume here, but seriously, I think we should just listen to Offer, hear what he has to say. Yeah, thank you, Offer.
Well, thank you, Michael. Hi, everyone. Wow, what a turnout today. Thanks everybody for coming in today. I just wanted to, I mean, you see my resume here. I do come a lot from the industry perspective, and I've been working in data science and big data for quite as many years. And I'm very excited actually to see so much interest in this field and in AI and machine learning in general. What I wanted to talk about today, just for a few minutes here, is to kind of walk through some of the applications and sort of the developments in industry space that are coming from AI. And really the interest and the use cases are very broad, and there's just a lot of interest. And from where I sit, I see a lot of different applications across industries, and I just wanted to share some of those with you today. First, I would say my current role, I actually started a new company called Syntegra, as you can see here, and Syntegra is working in the medical space. And I'd like to start with that because medicine is so important for us. I know everybody is also like been more aware of medicine recently because of the pandemic, of course, but generally there's a huge wave of innovation driven by AI in medicine, and it goes in a lot of different directions, but one that I want to highlight is really diagnostics, right? We have today diagnosis of disease is done using some techniques that doctors learn in med school, and there's a whole set of new companies and startups and the like who are trying to help doctors make better diagnosis. And the reason is because a lot of times diagnosis is based on just 3 or 4 variables, like if you're at a certain age or you have a certain precondition or something, maybe you're a smoker, or you're kind of at a certain age, or you have some genetic mutation, then you're more likely or less likely to be a certain risk for a certain disease. But that is really kind of a statistical analysis that's hard to make once you get beyond 5 or 6 or 7 such variables. And there's the machine learning and AI is coming to help there, where you can look at 10 or 20 or 100 different variables and be able to make these determinations. Another good example for medicine is the ability to, for example, to look at a CT scan or an MRI scan and provide better diagnosis that actually radiologists could make about whether there's some problem with a CT scan or some interpretation needs to be made to the physician. I would say that ultimately, physicians are still the people who make the determination, but I think AI has been super helpful, and there's more and more applications in that field, and it's really important, right? Health is important for everyone. Outside of medicine, of course, you can see the prevalence and sort of the use cases in AI in a lot of other fields. Michael mentioned self-driving cars. That's kind of the obvious example, right? Where my answer would be yes, I'm sure within 10 years we'll see self-driving cars. That's my feeling. The field is going through a massive transformation, a lot of progress very quickly. It's still, I think it still sort of has to be done well in sort of the edge cases, but I think over time that'll also get solved. We see this in financial services. We see this in robotics. There's a lot of robotics in surgery now, and manufacturing, of course, and other spaces. And by the way, one other thing I want to mention is the following. A lot of times people ask me about, it's a very common question in AI, is like, would AI, like, would have robots that take over the world and kill everybody, right? Like, so I'm not one of those people who believe that's gonna happen anytime soon. I know there are a lot of newspaper articles about this. It's just to say, my personal opinion is I think we're far away from that. However, the strength of these algorithms and what they could do to help us create a better world through, a lot of industrial applications and things that happen day in and day out are vast. And we're finding that AI can help in areas where humans are just, too slow to make computation, or there's no need for humans to actually do this complicated math every day in and day out. And computers are very good at that. And they're becoming much, much better at doing this. And by the way, this is thanks to also in part to the advance we have in GPUs, graphical processing units, thanks to all the kids who've been playing video games, because I think that's really how this industry has evolved, right? Like the video games needed these GPUs, and like about 5 years ago, people said, "Oh, those are very strong computational powers, so we can use them for machine learning and AI." So that's been really great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a lot about the applications. One other thing I wanted to mention that's really near and dear to my heart, and also relates to kind of all of you kids who are interested in this, and I want to put it in your head, is that there is, like any new technology, right? AI is, think about, the invention of fire, right? You could take fire, you can heat, your cave and have everybody survive the winter, but you could also like burn the forest, right? So AI has this huge potential, while there's a risk to misuse it. And I mentioned previously that I don't think it's in the form of, robots will kill us all kind of things, but rather I think there's potential to misuse AI. For example, with creating models that can be discriminating and don't, follow, social justice norms and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And what? Sorry, was there a question?
No. Go ahead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I encourage you to think about that as you start your journey in AI, is how to create algorithms that do wonderful things while being fair and avoid, and make them really great tools to the best of humanity. So thanks for listening. Yeah.
Well said, Offer. I think this is the last point you raised. I think it's something that I think AI Camp has this responsibility to also teach our kids, how
Exactly.
to create algorithms that are equal, right, in some sense. And that is something we're gonna definitely add into our curriculum. Yeah. Okay. Sam, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So Sam, you are our 2020 summer AI Camp student. Could you talk about maybe one of the most memorable moments you had last summer?
Sure. So as Michael mentioned, I was in the 2020 summer program last year, which was a 3-week AI camp. And they said on the first day, this camp is going to be like drinking out of a fire hose. And that was definitely accurate. That was definitely an accurate description. It's sort of, there's so much information, it sort of hits you like a wrecking ball, but enough of it sticks that it's actually really, really worth it. So when I was there, we had the model was in the morning. I'm not sure if it's the same now, but in the morning we would have a lecture. And then in the afternoon, we'd work on a group project in small groups. So in the lectures in the morning, we got to learn so much. There was a huge diversity of lectures. We got to learn about what we were working on, so like machine learning, and then we learned about unsupervised versus supervised. But Michael also talked about how do you build a network? How do you think about what you want to study in college? How do you think about your careers and that sort of stuff, based on what we were learning in the other lectures about AI. So we were learning about the importance of data in AI, and then we learned how to apply that to the decisions we were going to make in our life. And then in the afternoon, we would focus on group work, which I think is what really benefited me the most, because we got to take an AI product from start to finish. Literally on the first day, we decided what we wanted to do. And by the end, we had a product. My group built a traffic sign identifier. So you could upload a picture of any traffic stop. Oh, can we do a demo?
Let's see. Maybe, hold on.
Or maybe we can just show you later.
I can find street signs AI Camp work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is the one you guys built. All right. Can you talk about like what's this thing?
Yeah. So the way it works is you can upload a photo of any traffic sign, and it will identify a stoplight, a red light. Oh, it identifies a stop sign, a red light, a yellow light, a green light, and a crosswalk sign.
Okay.
So we thought that this was super important. Yeah, that's our team. We thought
Right.
it was super important. We had a couple of ideas, but we eventually decided on this one because we were really thinking about the application of self-driving cars and how, they're going to need to learn how to stop at a stop sign and obey traffic laws. So it's really important that they could recognize these signals.
Mhm.
So it was definitely a long process. We started out on the first day, like the first 2 days, we pretty much learned Python. Like our instructor was a college student who said like that was the entire Python course he learned at college in 2 days. And then we built the product. We found the data, we labeled the data, we trained the model, and then we eventually deployed the model. And it was really, really, I think
Mhm.
that was a revolutionary experience for me to take an AI product from start to finish.
Yeah. Cool. 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 Awesome. Thank you so much, Sam, for coming here and support us. Okay. So, Sam, let me ask you a different question. I'm kind of curious, like, the stuff you learn at AI camp, whether it's like, the sort of like AI knowledge, coding knowledge, to all the life lessons. Did you find out like later, can you apply it anywhere? Like, did that change you, like, in any sense,
Absolutely. I would say that the lessons I learned in AI camp apply over my life in general. Even if I don't end up even if I don't end up going into AI as a field or as a career,
Mhm.
I learned about the importance of data and how to make decisions based on data and measuring accuracy versus precision versus recall. And
Mhm.
like all of this applies to your life in general, wherever you go.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Can you say also like one of the downside of AI camp? Like anything that's you think we can improve? Like yeah.
I will say
Yeah.
it's definitely drinking out of a fire hose. It kind of hits you like a wrecking ball for 3 weeks, and then you kind of just got to hang on tight and take as many notes as you can and hope that they're legible. Here, I brought my notebook with me. I filled up, oh, you can't really see, but I filled up an entire notebook, like start to finish, with
Yeah.
notes from lectures. Um,
Yeah.
Sometimes like I would finish a lecture and be like, I have no like, you just hit me with so much information. I have to go back and read my notes every single night.
Sam, to tell the truth, like we reflect our experience learning all these things. We learn programming in 2 years. We learn machine learning in 2 years. We learn deep learning in 2 years. It's almost like 6 years of learning cranked into 3 weeks, right? Sometimes I felt like, can
That
you
was
actually
definitely my
handle that?
experience.
Yeah. So this would be the last year we have this 3 week kind of thing. Yeah, because 3 week kind of thing is like it's super intense, right? And we wish also like, and it's also hard for parents to plan. It's 3 weeks. If we can do 2 weeks, it's also cheaper. We have better experience and all that. So this would be the last summer we're ever gonna have this 3 week kind of thing. Yeah. So if you're looking for overview of the AI, this is pretty good. Yeah. Okay. Sam, thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it. Wait, why do we have blank space here? Oh, okay. Wait, why do we have blank space here? Oh, maybe I clicked one of the buttons. Okay, never mind. So I'm gonna get rid of that. All right, Jackson, you here?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, dude. Can you talk about who you are? What do you do? Yeah.
Yeah. So I've worked at AI Camp for the better part of a year now. It first started when my dad discovered this online AI camp and he suggested that I apply. I thought it was pretty cool. I had previous coding experience. I was interested in that sort of thing. So I went ahead and applied. And I came to the first intro class and Mike was sort of giving an overview about intro to AI. And he was, and we talked about what background we had, what experience we had with programming, and he seemed really interested in the experience that I had. So like within a week or two, he reached out with a job offer. His premise was that he could prove that he could hire high schoolers and have them do professional level work, and so he would get professional software developed for him and the high schoolers would gain professional experience. It would be a win-win.
Well, we
And
had
I
we had
accepted.
no. So sorry to interrupt. We had no money, for example. That's the first of all. And the second thing is, previously I hired a 19-year-old from UCLA, gave him $120,000 He dropped out of school for a year, worked for us at a Blend Labs for a year. Best hire I ever had. And actually AI Camp was his idea and I just built up on it, right? And if it's not Jesse, we don't have this camp today. And Jackson, please continue your story. Yeah, sorry.
So day one, we started diving into programming. We started learning professional practice, professional methodology. We started learning how to work with a team. We started learning how to use GitHub. He's showing us the AI Camp ops repo. This is basically all of the code that we have. It's got stuff that manages our data. It's got stuff that collects our data from outside sources. This is where one of our websites is built, the logic for it. It's got a referral program. So if you sign up with the referral program, you get a referral code. And if someone uses your referral program and signs up for AI Camp, you get a credit to attend AI Camp for free.
Yeah. So anyway, so these are essentially software Jackson made. Okay. All right. Can you talk a bit about like how this experience might change your? Can you imagine, like, let's just say you never had an AI Camp, what your future would be different?
I would have nowhere near the amount of experience I did had I not gone. Coming out of college, I will most likely be able to have a bachelor's in computer science and 6 years of professional experience in full stack development, which is huge.
Yeah.
It's incredible because when people are hiring, the number one thing they look for is experience.
Yeah. And you have 6 years experience plus like a bachelor degree.
Mhm.
That's actually like in the summer. By the way, Jackson, let me say the following. Without Jackson, AI Camp won't be able to run, right? So I want to say that in the public. And, look, like we have so many servers, for example, coding center, this whole thing right here. Jackson can help us deploying this thing, right? In the summer, what's going to happen is we're going to have hundreds of these servers. They're essentially students are running programs here. Jackson will be the one, behind the scenes, helping us maintain the server health, right? As a matter of fact, I will give him a team of developers, and he can help us getting this whole thing to be scalable. Okay. So Jackson, I'm so looking forward to working with you in the summer full time. That would be so fun.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So thank you, Jackson. All right. Rohan and Preeti, are you guys here?
Yes, Michael, we are here.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me highlight your video. Okay. So Preeti, could you talk about, your story here?
Yes. So I have a lot of stories, Michael, with you, with Rohan and how he learned machine learning, but I'll highlight a few of them. So just the way Rohan got started with AI Camp was, Rohan was a typical middle schooler, going to school, enjoying playing with friends, learning to play tennis and etc. And then COVID hit. And we all, as we all knew that we were in a lockdown with no schools. He had no school, no friends, no playing with friends, and no extracurricular activities. And that's when Rohan had a lot of time on his hand. And I think that was like last April, March, April of last year. And Rohan knew Python. So we started looking for an online class, which would keep him busy, which could expand Rohan's Python knowledge to AI and, expand his knowledge and how he could utilize Python and AI and machine learning. And that's when we found AI Camp and we spoke to Michael, and that's how he started with AI Camp. So Rohan had no idea. He just knew a little bit of Python coding. But I remember one of Rohan's first projects in the lockdown was he had just learned in the first couple of few classes with Ying and Michael, and they had shown him how they can utilize data sets such as from John Hopkins and find their own insights and how to graph results. And so Rohan took that he took the COVID-19 data set from John Hopkins and built his own COVID online dashboard with the knowledge. And Michael and Ying taught him how to look through the data, how to build read the data and how to show that data, graph that data. And Rohan was so excited to show us that project. And we shared it with all our family and friends to show like what Rohan had built. And that was really cool. I think Rohan also had, and as we proceeded through the COVID lockdown, all the summer camps were canceled. Rohan was mostly home. He was doing some online schooling, online summer camps, but he had a lot of time on his hand. And so Rohan, that's when I remember Ying and Michael introduced him to Kaggle, one of the platforms that uses online data sets to create like utilize machine learning models. So he was playing with Kaggle. He got some certifications there. And while doing that and building his own machine learning models on those Kaggle data sets, I remember Rohan used to reach out to Michael at odd hours, after hours, to get some guidance when he was stuck. And I remember Michael was always open to pointing him in the right direction.
Not always, but I try the best.
But what Michael and Ying provided him was constant guidance of what he should learn next, and Rohan took that opportunity with AI Camp, and that's how he learned computer vision. I remember I didn't know all these terminologies. Basically, I'm not like an AI or machine learning. I'm nowhere near it. But I heard Rohan talking about it, getting excited, and Michael was pushing his boundaries. Rohan learned computer vision. Rohan learned deep learning. Rohan learned natural language processing, and Rohan used to take that. And a funny story I remember was one of the weekends we were all just wanting to go somewhere for a holiday, like a 6-hour drive. And Rohan refused to come with us. And then when I asked him why, Rohan, and Rohan was like, "Oh, Mama, Michael mentioned something about transformers and I want to do research on it." And so we pushed him in the car and he said, "You have to take a break. No, you have to come with us." And Rohan basically sat in the car for 6 hours behind in our car and researched transformers and created a summary of what he had learned, and wanted to share it with Michael as soon as.
He actually presented in the class.
Yes. And he wanted to share it with you. So he was so excited about that. But overall, just AI Camp just provided Rohan and obviously his teammates and his classmates like valuable insights into machine learning and deep learning industry, like importance of data. So not just like doing like coding or something, but I think the way, Michael, you taught them was importance of data, roles in AI teams. So they had a team, you created a team and you created roles for them for some of your projects, like the recycling project that Rohan built with you, how to build the AI product, how to deploy it, like the industry standard tools that are used for deep learning. So I think that's something, that's not taught many times when you read a book or when you just go to a college class. so that's
I'm
like
actually
something outside of the norm that you taught. You take something and you build a start to end product with all these different things, and being a high schooler for Rohan, he didn't know what the roles are, like how to work in teams, and then how to leverage the data. So that was something very, very valuable as a 9th grader, to learn that.
So one thing I want to say, like Rohan is a prodigy. I really think so. I think for someone who's like as young as, like when I heard about Rohan's story, like 13-year-old building neural nets, and now he's 14 now. I was in shock. Yeah, I was in shock. And then I just tried to pushing. And I think his AI knowledge, in some aspect, I think it's beyond me now. And I really don't know what he's going to do in college, to be honest, because you go to college, like the level of the classes that we're having, like we're giving you this, tour of AI. The level we are having is like really at the junior level, like college junior level. I really think like Rohan goes to university, it's like, what is going to do there? Right. So which is why I really hope like Taki, who's our advisor, from Stanford, I really hope he would show up today. I don't want to introduce Taki, to you. And I think what's going to happen is, we should have, Rohan intern with Taki. And that's really like the best opportunity for Rohan, I think.
Yeah.
So,
And so Michael, just with that knowledge that you gave him in the last 1.5 years, he continues to excel. He's in a computer science academy in one of the toughest high schools in New Jersey. But he continues to excel in his computer science academy because he has an edge now that he has learned so much new. And the other day, I saw him building an emotional detector and showing off to his classmates and the professor of how he built that.
Oh, yeah.
And now I think he wants to take it one step ahead into utilizing these skills for high school research projects, because I think in high school now a lot of focus is on mentoring students to utilize their skills in research areas. So Rohan wants to do that, but I think you've given him a very, very solid foundation to take his skills forward. And I think you've tested his boundaries, of learning and fast learning and applying it to, different applications. So he's done, like, I heard one of your speakers talking about like a disease detector. So he's done that already. He's done an emotional detector. He built something for Michael, like a computer vision face detection product. And he's built like a stock market prediction. And I think he's done like many projects now that
he has another project where he's using AI to generate digits. He has done actually he has been working with me with some of the projects as well, and we're going to turn that project into curriculum as well. So I really think Rohan, like, frankly, like when I look at Sam, Jackson, Rohan, David, all these kids, like, imagine, right? These kids, they stay with us for 3 weeks. They build an AI product, right? You talk to any professional and you say, oh yeah, we got a 6 high schooler coming together, 3 weeks, we build this thing. I think for anyone who knows this, the jaws will be dropped. They'll be like, what? Right? Because it's such a awesome thing, and we can help. Like, this is definitely going outside the scope now of this info session. Our dream at AI Camp is actually founding a university, right? So imagine for 3 weeks, these kids are building something like this. What if they stay with us for 4 years? Right? We're gonna build future leaders for AI, right? Future leaders in tech. So which is why, like, sometimes my heart breaks. Like when I look at Jackson, when I look at Sam, when I look at Alex and Bavash and Rohan, we're not ready for you yet. Although you're a champion for us in building this journey. So I want to say again, I so appreciate everyone here, including our future prospective students, because you know what, your support will help us like realize this dream. Like Zachary, like I see your review about us. You're saying like our conceptual class was life-changing, right? And wait until you see the 3 weeks thing, man. Yeah, we're gonna work our butts off to provide you something that's really tremendous. All right, okay. I should not be so emotional.
And Michael, just before you leave, Rohan wants to say hi to everybody. And he's always available. He's sitting right here. He's always available if anybody has any more questions, or wants guidance. He's always there.
Rohan, one thing I think maybe like later on, you should just come to AI Camp and do an internship with us. And you should definitely do an internship with us. If Taki is not taking you, we're gonna take you, right? So like that would be our luck. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, so we're gonna continue this whole thing here. Okay, anybody have questions and stuff like that, please reach out to us at hello@aicamp.org. So as you can see here, we're passionate about education. We really think education is something that due to change for a long time, right? And I'll tell you why. Okay, I'll tell you why. So our mission is prepare the students for real life by teaching AI. That's our mission. Now you might think like, okay, well, this is kind of odd. Like why you had to do this by teaching AI? Like, what do you mean prepare students for real life? Isn't that what our school is for? Well, the first question here is, I think the AI powered automation guys, they're really coming. They're really coming, and it's in our lifetime, right? So this company here called Too Simple is actually founded by a friend of mine, right? The CTO is a friend of mine. And I follow their progress. They were very serious about this. And not just they're serious about this. UPS signed up, like different routes with them to deliver mail across the country, right? And then they already talked to other truck manufacturers, and they're manufacturing self-driving trucks. And I constantly ask this question, right, to all my, students. I was like, do you think self-driving vehicle will come out in the next 6 months? Nobody raised their hand. What about 2 years? Some of them raised their hand. What about 5 years? Okay, we see a lot more. What about 15 years? Everybody raised their hand, right? But when you look at the majority of the folks here, like we're like what, 16-year-old on average, right? Our students here, 16 plus 15, you're like 30-something-year-old. You're at your prime time, right? And these automation is really coming, right? Is really coming. And so, and the other way to think about it, like, do you guys know how many truck drivers are there in the United States? 3.5 million people, right? 3.5 million people. And then you multiply by 3 because that's the average size for a family. We're talking about 10 million people's life, right? And their job, their livelihood will be gone in 15 years, right? And this is not going to stop, right? I even think in terms of teaching, Jackson knows about it. We're actually making a, AI teaching, teacher, right? We think even teaching, creative writing, service industry, right? A lot of jobs, right, will be automated away or maybe facilitated, right? So the thing that we are doing here, we wanted to raise the awareness of this, which is why you're learning AI in the first place, okay? And the other thing we have to look at is basically, I think our higher education has failed many families, right? When you look at student debt, $1.6 trillion. Can we actually comprehend that number? $1.6 trillion. It's more than credit card debt. It's more than auto debt. It's actually only second to mortgage, right? And the burden are humongous to young generations, right? 6 to 8% of students take debt, 30% average student debt, right? $30,000 student debt. You go to Stanford, your parents would be like, yes, let's got into Stanford, what not? And then it's like $53,000 yearly tuition, right? Multiply by 4, that's well beyond $200,000, right? So our higher education definitely will put you into debt if you're not careful about it. But on top of that, think about this. Every 1 in 2 graduates at the time of the graduation, you have no job. Nobody wants you, right? So then what are you going to do? You spend 4 years at college, you spend $200,000, and then you only got half the chance to get a job? It's almost like you walk into, like, I don't know if you guys have bought cars. It's like you go into a car dealership and you say, okay, I wanted that car. That car looks great. I want it. Everybody has it, right? And then the sales guy would be like, you can test it. It's going to cost you $200,000. And when you try to test drive it, half of the time the car won't start. Do you think that's a good deal? That's a terrible deal, right? No one would want that deal, right? But yet, that's the situation for our higher education, right? So when you're thinking about it, what are we trying to do here? When you think about, why would we go through the trouble building an AI product? Why can't we just give you a bunch of lectures and be done with it? Because you know what? Giving a bunch of lectures is easy, right? We can just, give you a bunch of slides. Look, I have so many slides here. Look, I have plenty of slides. I can, give all kinds of slides, how to build a website, how to build an AI product, campus review, intro to machine learning, deep neural network. We can shine these, object detection, computer vision, the pyramid of data needs, generated models. You guys don't understand what this is. Not yet, right? And what we can do is, just like, for example, our other competitors, we just give you a bunch of slides and goes through that, bombard you with a bunch of information that's useless, right? But at the end of the day, you're not gaining anything by going through a lecture, right? Because you're not working on it, you're not coding it up, right? You don't know, for example, how to deliver a product, right? So the reason why we're going through, all the trouble of building an AI product, right, is basically we want to bridge the gap between our schools and industries. Like, for example, you're building an AI product, for example, different jobs, what does it look like, right? What's a product manager, what's a software engineer, what's a designer, right? Because you got to do all those things, right? You need to learn all these things. You need to learn all these things on the fly, right? And that's pretty important. And you know what? That's the way when you go for a job and stuff like that, that's the way to learn, right? You think you're going to basically prepare everything for the job and go for an interview and that's the job you're going to take? Wrong. You're going to take a job that challenges you. You have never done this before and someone can give you a chance and you will do that. And that's how you elevate your career, right? In addition to that, and this is something Rohan needs to, build on top of it. Jackson, you need to build on top of it. Sang, you need to build on top of it. That is, how do you build a network? How do you work with people? How do you get that referral that I can give to Taki, right? So how do we learn that? How do we do that, right? So those are the really, really important lessons. We wish, when we were younger, someone taught us that. No one did. But so we're here, to do that for you. Okay. All right. So as you can see here, that's why there are 3 pillars for AI summer camp. The first and foremost is the AI project, right? Let's do something, create something fun, cool, using your ideas. I remember the first time when we released like a product into the wild, people are using it. Oh my gosh, adrenaline, right? And I can't believe we turn our own ideas into something people are using, right? And the power of that? The power of that is that you realize, oh my gosh, I got this power. I can turn my ideas into something that people want. I can fail, but that's okay, right? At least I got this power, right? That's pretty important, okay? Second is you need some fundamentals. You don't have that right now. I'm going to teach you how. We're not going to teach you knowledge A to Z. We're only going to teach you the right amount of information so that you can accomplish those things, okay? And the final thing, the career framework, is basically figure out what you're going to do in college, right? Figure out how you're going to use data to make decisions, right? You heard about these, advice, like follow your passion. Let me just say right outright, that's the terrible advice. Okay, that's a terrible advice. And I'll tell you why. We will tell you why. Okay, and now I'm repeating myself. So these are, AI products, emotion detector. But here are the first 5 students actually we had. The premise of the camp is still the same. As you can see, Beatrice was designer, front engineer. Ari was product manager and back engineer. Right now, you don't understand the difference between them, which is why you don't know, for example, like why do we need to experience that? But what if I tell you, if you wanted to work in the tech industry, you actually don't have to know coding, for example. No coding is helpful, but you don't have to. For example, as a product manager, you don't have to, right? So these are the nuances where, going through the camp will help you to answer and will help you plan your future. So if you're going to spend, $200,000 in college, plan your life, 10 years and down the road, you will know how. Okay. And mostly like I'm speaking to the kids as much as I'm speak, to the parents. I really hope, we're not just chasing GPAs. We're not chasing, extracurricular, activities to get into the best universities. What we should do is actually shaping our kids' future, by looking at what the market wants and what our kids are actually very good at, right? So those are the things we should think about. I'm gonna go faster now because right now we have another 10 minutes. So I'm gonna skip these things. But here just talk about, 7 steps of building AI product. As you can see, it's pretty difficult. You're gonna learn all these fundamentals and data skills and neural networks. We will bring many industrial and academia AI experts into the conversation. We're going to have important life lessons, as I said, how to pick a major career, information interview, how to build a network. A typical day in the morning, right? You spend about 2 hours doing lectures and practices, right? So this is like essentially we have a conversation. In the noon, basically you're going to have a lunch. We're going to bring guest speakers, right, across the country. For example, principal data scientists from DeepMind. Maybe I'm going to bring the CTO from TuSimple, talk about self-driving vehicles. Afternoon, the project time. So that's like the most fun time. So that's where you got to essentially code your own idea, right? You can have your, instructor coding together with you to shepherd that whole thing together. We're not going to offer any in-person coding this year. And it's really because COVID, we don't know what's the situation. Plus we have, folks who are coming from all over the country, actually all over the world. We have students actually coming from Spain and Germany and Middle East. So we can, for example, afford to do it in person. But trust me, having taught thousands of students, we know this camp will be transformational and will be effective. So for example, first of all, it's very small session, 6 students per instructor. So, you can have a lot of help along the way. So it's never going to be, for example, like this kind of fashion where, it's hard to have, 1 versus 200 people, right? We're going to have a Google Docs for coding. So that's our coding center. So everyone, your instructor will be able to see what you're typing. This is a fully fledged, actually a Linux machine, and you'll be able to use that to not only do coding, but also training your model, etc. We also have our AI Camp Learning Center, and this is where essentially, all our course materials, you will get exposed to. And as we build up onto, more on top of this, you will have the best curriculum, for teenagers for you to learn about AI. As I said, I really want to, speed this through because I felt like, like when I'm going into this mode, it's not a conversation, right? It has a profound impact. So I will just send you the slides. This is something you have to judge yourself. Okay, here are a bunch of logistics. I cannot slow down because you have to do it. Otherwise, you won't be able to participate. So I hope you, pay attention here. So dates, you can manage your session choices before May 1st, okay, using this link. So I highly suggest you take out your pen, paper, or your laptop, or whatever you have, write down this URL here. Okay, write down this URL here. Because this URL, I'm going to send it in the chat as well. Because this URL is you will need it, right? Because you wanted to make sure that you can choose the right session. So for anyone who wants to join, okay, you must fill this. Because you don't fill this, you're not in the roster. Okay, so you need to fill this. Schedule, as I said, is actually 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every weekday. So make sure you budget enough time for this, right? Make sure you do enough exercise, throughout, right? We tested this last summer. It worked out, really well. In terms of computers and equipment, you need a good Wi-Fi. You need a good computer, okay? And we can provide a cloud computer and GPU for students. There are a bunch of questions here. Okay, so time zone. Okay, listen, guys. Time zone is the following. This time zone, okay, this time zone is PST or EST, okay? Pacific time or Eastern time. So you have choices. You can choose which one, okay? Are the cloud computers hosted by AWS? Eric, that's correct, okay? Our cloud computer is hosted by AWS. AWS stands for Amazon Web Services. We actually have a partnership with them as Add Start program. Okay, I'm not trying to bombard with the information now. All right, so here is the important information about tuition and timeline. So the regular price is $2,349. The cutoff date is May 15th. I think most of you guys here sign up with early bird. The cutoff date is actually right after the info session, the next Wednesday. Okay, so you don't submit, tuition. We really can't make any exceptions because we have to plan the best AI camp, summer camp for you, and we don't want it to be, hindered by, I guess, I don't know, if you don't want to participate. Early bird cutoff next Wednesday. Same with scholarship. The price is mixed because we have full scholarship. We sometimes give an 800 discount or 600 discount off the regular. Your cutoff date is the same thing next Wednesday. Okay, next Wednesday. Okay. A few special note about scholarship. So by the way, guys, you can ask questions a little bit later, okay? Because what I'll do, we're gonna have a QA session, okay? All right, so special note about scholarship. We actually partnership with schools to give scholarships. So we reach out schools one by one, and sometimes may not come to your school, before you sign up. So we're sorry that you never heard about it, but it's really like we only had limited resources and we have to be very careful how we're gonna spend that. Now, scholarships, we can refund you anytime, okay? So you're not happy about this thing, for example, we're gonna refund you. But tell you what, if you, for example, decide to sign up, right, submit all the tuition, at that moment, we can refund you because, as I said, we have to plan our session, right? So once you're in, you got to be like, yes, I think this would be money well spent. This is going to be something, I can see, we're going to enjoy, we're going to benefit for life. And I promise you that that's the promise we're going to have for you. That is something we will deliver. Okay, how to best prepare for the AI summer camp? You heard about, from Sam, right? It feels like, oh my gosh, it's like a fire truck driving towards you. It's going to be a lot of information. So I do recommend you learn Python right now. Okay, so you see there's a URL, learnpython.org, right? If you're a student, you should definitely note down that. You should definitely go through the basics in learnpython.org. And this skill, let me tell you, it's transferable, meaning that doesn't really matter what you're going to do in the future. Python is going to be something that's awesome. Okay, so it doesn't really matter what you're going to do. Yeah, whether it's like medical, law, engineering, of course, science, Python is something that's tremendous. And if you're a parent, if you're interested, I highly recommend you go there to learn that as well. It's going to be something tremendous. Okay, one more thing, good equipment, right? High-speed Wi-Fi, good computer with a camera. That's all we need because, we're going to provide a coding center for you to code stuff, okay? And the final thing is there are no stupid questions at AI camp, okay? Okay, I'm gonna go through the reminders. Okay, everybody, tuition next Wednesday. Okay, that's for parents. For students, you gotta make sure you have the summer batch change form filled because then we can track essentially what you need, right? You have to do that before May 1st. You can do that anytime before May 1st, right? You can change that anytime you want before May 1st. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna end the presentation. I'm sure there are a lot of questions. Okay. And let me look at essentially the let me look at essentially the rest of the question. Okay, so I'm just gonna go backwards. Okay, I'm gonna go backwards. We made payments, how to pay remaining. So we will send you an email. Okay, can we share recording today in an email? Yes, we will share that. Let me see. Okay, how about we do this? I don't know how to manage 200 people. I've never done this before, right? This is pretty tough for me. How about this? You raise your hand. I'm going to call your name. Please just voice out your question. Tell me what you're thinking about the presentation as well, okay? All right, raise your hand, please. Wait, what? Nobody has a question now? Oh, okay. Dylan, can you tell us what's your question?
Hello, my name's Dylan. I thought your presentation was pretty good, but my mom had a question. When
Yeah.
do you think what was your question, Mom?
Where do you go for the tuition?
Okay. Where do you go to pay for the rest of the tuition?
We will email you a link.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Today. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Sina, you there?
Hi, I'm Senna. I loved your presentation. I'm really excited.
Thank you.
So I got this partial scholarship, and then I registered like as fast as I could. But I don't know if I got the scholarship or not because you said it was like the first 10 people.
Yeah. So as I said, that is something we will look into our records and send you a link if you got it. Yeah.
Okay.
We're also working with some other organizations and trying to increase the number of scholarships that we can give.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. No problem. Manav, you there?
Yeah, I love the presentation. Thank you so much for the presentation. I just had one question. So at AI Camp, is everything built from scratch?
Great question. So your model is not built from scratch. The model is actually we're using an existing model to train it. Although we do build a few model from scratch, but not everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is partial scholarship based on early bird or the regular price? The partial scholarship is based on the regular price. Ryan Chen, Ryan, you there?
Oh, yeah. So you got to learn Python like before the camp, right?
You don't have to. We will teach, but it would be very helpful.
Okay, so do you think like I should just like go through like the intro or like what like how much of Python do you think I need to learn?
So you just need to learn basics.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't have to go through the full detail. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think the presentation was awesome.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Okay. Adia Doobie.
Really enjoyed the presentation, but I was just asking, how exactly are like the batches? Are they just kind of random?
Okay. A great question. So what do we actually do? Okay, first of all, there are 3 batches, right? 3 different batches. That's based on your choice, right? That's based on your choice. And then within each, let's just say we have 180, students in the summer, 3 batches. So each batch would be 60. And then within that, we have 10 small kind of sessions. And those sessions are based on the level of students, right? And also your interest. Yeah, I don't want to promise you, but look, we have a computer vision one, we have a natural language processing one, and we have a reinforcement learning one, which is basically how people can use AI to play games. And self-driving car is also reinforcement learning. So we might have one track in that as well. We're developing new tracks as well, as we say, but we're looking at as I said, it's your level and your interest. Yeah.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so all right. Okay, Jimmy, you there?
Yes, I'm here, Michael.
All right, Jimmy. Can you talk about you have a full scholarship?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
What questions you have? I'm so excited for you to
So
join.
Yeah, I'm also excited too.
Yeah.
So when we build those projects, will we use pure Python, or are we going to implement a lot of the modules like PyTorch, scikit-learn, or are we just going to build our Python code?
Yeah, so we were not going to build a module. Build a module is a little bit too much for 3 weeks. So we're going to use Python, to use those modules. There's no reason not to use, for example, what the people have already built, right? We're always standing in the shoulder of the giants, but we do also look into details of how, these things are being done and try to understand that for sure. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
And your presentations were awesome too.
Thank you so much. Rebecca Chan, you there?
Yes, I'm here. So this was a really, really good presentation. I really appreciate it. I really like it. My question isn't really relevant to presentation itself, but I know we have an interview with, so I remember it's about 5 to 10 minutes. Is it possible for you to tell us what we are going to, what questions are we going to be asked?
If we tell you the questions, the interview won't be fair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So unfortunately, this is something we're just gonna have to go through it.
Okay, cool.
Rebecca,
Thank you
don't
very
worry about
much.
it. Just be yourself. You'll be okay.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So we're gonna take 2 more questions. Okay, 2 more questions. Rosie P. Rosie, you there?
Hi. I was just a little bit confused about where we're supposed to apply for scholarships. Will our school send us that information?
Have you applied for a scholarship? But the deadline's already passed.
The deadline has already passed for
Yeah,
scholarships?
we have already given scholarship out. Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Tim Lu.
Hi, that's my dad's name. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was really interesting and it really clarified the questions I had. I had one more question. You mentioned tracks earlier. When and how do we pick those?
So the tracks, as I said, is based on your interest, right? So, and we're gonna build on your idea, right? So for example, natural language processing, I don't know if I shared this thing before. Let me share that right now. So for example, this is basically one set of this is actually using AI to do food research, right? For example, different candy, whether they're good or bad, we actually give them a numerical score. And how do we give a numerical score? We look at each individual ingredients. And how did we have each individual ingredients and we know the score? Because we Google it and we say, look at Google, and the Google can actually our algorithm can say whether this is harmful or neutral or harmful or beneficial or whatnot. And based on these classifications, we can give a numerical score, right? So this whole algorithm here will be able to conduct food research, just like how you would do food research, right? And we can do it across the board and make everything, very interesting. But as I said, this is something where it's going to be based on your interest. Okay. All right. So, okay. So I know you have a lot of questions. We won't be able to answer every single one of them. Okay. We do want to answer every single one of them. If you have any question, please send us an email at hello@ai-camp.org. Okay. We will be reaching out with tuition. As I said, deadline is March 31st, right? End of this month on Wednesday, right? And for our students there, go to learnpython.org, study Python. And you know what? You got questions about how to learn those things, you encounter difficulties, email us at hello@ai-camp.org. We will gonna reply your messages and help you to learn. Okay. We will send the recordings later. You will hear from us. I'm so excited for every single one of you, to join us in the summer. I see so many familiar faces. And you know what? I also want to say thank you again, Offer. Thank you so much for this help. Thank you so much, Preeti. Thank you so much of Sam, Jackson, right? Everyone, who are, supporting us. Tony Shea, good talking to you over the phone the other day. Thanks for coming as well. Neil, thanks for coming. Thanks for, establishing an AI club. Great to have you. Rang, Kururi, like we met in our conceptual class, right? Good job, showing up. Okay, Rachel, I understand, where you're from as well. Great job. Okay, guys, I want to end this. The party will resume in the summer. Okay, you will hear from us. We're gonna bring guest speakers. I so appreciate everyone here. We will see you in the summer. All right. Okay. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great.
Thank you. Your
Bye-bye.
presentation was amazing.
I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Bye-bye for now.